Um, Welcome, Mr. Harish Rijwani. Hi, this is Rotractor Shalaka Adhikari, President for Smart City Navi Mumbai. Uh,
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. I've heard a lot of about you from Revti. Revti, you are a favorite professor, so we thought of having you here for our Teacherly Thursday session. So for everybody here, I would like to welcome everyone for this Teacherly Thursday session. This is basically a masterclass thing where every Thursday we are having different sessions from varied professionals coming in. So introducing Mr. Harish Rijwani. Harish Rijwani is an IT professional with 17 years of experience. He is a visiting faculty, speaker, judge at various institutes like Samaya, Symbiosis, Bellinkers, etc. He's also an author of two books, that is Healthcare Decoded, Begin Your Health IT Journey, and Technology of Business, The Invisible Gap. So I would really like to welcome Sir. Sir, you could take it over from here.
Thank you,
Um,
ma'am. Thank you.
have around 26 people. We have more joining in, more
Sure.
few people.
So I'll just give a brief about what I'm going to talk about. So this is Made to Stick. It's a book. I'm not sure if you've read it. It's by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. What it talks about is about ideas, in terms of how do I really present an idea? How do I really talk about a specific thought process? And to give an example, right, just look at this particular image over here. What do you think this image depicts? Have you seen this ad anywhere? Anybody can speak or sorry.
No, I have never come across this ad.
Yeah, but do you know what this is, right? Fevicol.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you've seen all those advertisements of Fevicol, right? How easily they're able to share their message across, right? In terms of whatever tagline they have, Fevicol ka jod hai mazboot hai. Yeah. So when I look at this, right, it just shows Superman over here and it has Fevicol. So it's saying that even Superman can get stuck on Fevicol. It's that strong. Okay, that's what the message is trying to say. How strong, it's the strongest adhesive. That's what the message is. Now, when you look at somebody from a technical background, somebody from a technology background, right, they find it very difficult to express that thought process. They find it difficult to, or for that matter, anybody. If you're trying to showcase an idea to somebody, that is when you face a lot of challenges. What should I talk about? And you end up, especially if you're presenting something, you'll end up writing everywhere, especially in the presentation, in every nook and corner of the presentation. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about certain technical ideas. I'm going to talk about certain general ideas as well, in terms of how do you really present some of those thoughts. So I'm going to tell you a story. So there was a person called as Dave. He was traveling to Atlantic City. All right. And he was taking a flight. He had to take a flight. There was a stopover at Atlantic City before he stop over at one of the location before he reached Atlantic City, right? And he went to a bar. So there at the bar, he met a lady, and the lady offered him something to drink. So he said, "Okay, I'm fine. I'll have that drink." So I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think happened next? And please don't let your imaginations run wild. So I'm just going to ask you, what do you think happened next?
Anybody?
Maybe they shared the drink and they bonded well and they got a companion to travel to Atlantic City.
Okay. Anybody else want to give it a shot? So, all right. Now, what happened was when he woke up, right, Dave found himself in a bathtub filled with ice. And when he looked ahead, right, he just saw a note. It was saying, "Don't move, call 911." Okay, that's what he saw. The first thing he saw was, "Don't move, call 911." And when he called 911, right, the lady said, the lady, whoever picked up the phone, asked him, "Is there a tube protruding out of your lower back?" So he just moved his hand and he said, "Yes, there is a tube protruding out of my lower back." So So what they told him was that you have been part of a kidney heist. So, and this is something unexpected, right? You would not have expected something like this to happen. I mean, it can happen in a movie. Obviously, this is not really a true story, but it's more in terms of how do you tell a story, in terms of how do you really present your idea. So there are three things in this. There are three core elements in this, right? There is the drugged drink, there is an ice-filled bathtub, and then final punchline, right? Is there a that you have been part of a kidney heist? So those are the three core elements in that particular message. And in whatever way you tell the story, right? In whatever way I tell the story to you, you'll remember it because it has those specific elements in terms of how you presented a particular idea. I'll tell you another story over here is about movie popcorns. How many of you been to a theater? I'm assuming everybody has. You have had popcorn?
Yeah.
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 Yes.
So there was this person called as Art Silverman, and United States Department of Agriculture faced a challenge that any food that is there, right, that should have saturated fat which is less than 20 grams. But popcorn, which was being sold in the theaters, had saturated fat more than 20 grams. It was approximately 37 grams, which is mentioned over here. And the primary reason was because popcorn was being cooked in coconut oil. And if you know, coconut oil actually has a lot of fat. And he had to showcase this message to the users, right, to the end customers. So if I ask you this question, right, how would you actually showcase this? What would you do if you have to tell somebody that this food has 37 grams of fat? Any idea?
Maybe we keep something by its side to compare that this much
Alright.
popcorn is equivalent to this much of fat,
All
which
right.
you know.
All right. Anybody else?
We can look at the remaining rest of the grams that are composed of something else other than focusing on 37 grams.
All right. Okay. So when I look at it, right, I got two ideas. But when you look at it practically, do you know what do you really mean by 37 grams of fat? I know I can check my weight every day and it'll tell me how many kgs I am. And that would make sense to me. But if I'm telling that this food has 37 grams of saturated fat, I would not really understand what that meaning is. So what I think the person speaking was Smith, right? Smith. So he said you want to compare to something which is equivalent to this, right? So that's what you do. You kind of create an analogy that you look at what Art Silverman did was he kept popcorn on the left side and he kept this that if you have popcorn, one medium-sized popcorn is equivalent to bacon and eggs as breakfast, the mac and fries as lunch, and steak as dinner. So that is what movie popcorn is equivalent to. Because this catches your eye, this just tells you that, oh my, I'm not really having something good. So that's what you do. You try and look at whatever idea you have, whatever things you want to do, right? You try and compare with something people will really understand. Yeah, so as soon as that happened, there were a lot of taglines which came in the newspaper, right? Popcorn gets an R rating, lights, action, cholesterol. Theater popcorn is double feature of fat. So that's what some of these ideas actually talk about. And that is what the purpose of this book was. Why do some ideas succeed? Why some ideas fail? And anybody who has a specific idea wants to try and showcase that, right? Wants to try and really make that idea into something big, which is where you have some thought. So now there is something also called as the curse of knowledge. If you read this statement, right, you have espresso. This is what this lady is talking about in terms of how do you make espresso. And if you just read it, right, start with the brew ratio. The brew ratio is 1:1, 18 grams in, 18 grams out, to 1:2, 18 grams in, 36 grams out as risotto espresso. If I actually read this, I really don't understand it, which is where as a general person, if you're trying to showcase something to anybody, what happens in your mind is you're thinking that the other person really understands what you're saying. But many a times what happens is that person really does not understand what you're saying. And for that, there was a study done by Elizabeth Newton in 1990, which is called as tappers versus listeners. So there were 25 well-known songs which were given to people, and what they had to do was they had to tap those songs. So one of the songs was "Happy Birthday to You." I'm pretty sure everybody has sung that in their life. So there was this 25. One of the person was asked to tap these songs. So you did, uh, and the other person on the right, he was asked to guess the name of the song. So can you tell me how many people were able? Do you think were able to guess the name of the song?
Minimal, like 5 to 6,
Okay.
even less than that.
All right. Anybody else?
1 to 2.
Okay. Very good. So out of 120 songs tapped, only 3 were guessed correctly. So the lady who said 1 to 2 was pretty close by. All right. So that is what you have in terms of when you're showcasing some idea, right? You feel that some the person whom you're showcasing the idea really understands what you're trying to say. But it takes a lot of effort to explain that to somebody, which is where there is a logic towards it, which is called as success. So when you're trying to showcase something, right, you should showcase it in terms of it should be simple, it should be unexpected, it should be concrete, credible, emotional, and then stories. So we'll talk about some of all of these aspects, and I'll just quickly go through these aspects to give you an idea how this really works. So let's look at when you looked at movie popcorn, right? What is the simple thing we were trying to do? We were telling that avoid movie popcorn because there is unexpected danger, and we used concrete images. We were using images of bacon and eggs, mac and cheese, right? And what emotion you were touching was the emotion of disgust, because it's actually affecting your heart, right? That is what you're trying to tap into, that particular emotion. And the other story that we talked about was unexpected outcome, right? Highly unexpected outcome, which is where that is the kidney high story that we talked about earlier. Because the concrete image was in your mind that ice filled bathtub would be there, and in the end the emotion that you were tapping into was the fear, disgust, and the suspicion. Now when you say simplicity, right, what we are trying to say is one one sentence or one statement so profound that an individual could spend a lifetime learning to follow it. And when you look at Fevicol, right, they have this tagline, Fevicol ka mazboot jod hai, tootega nahi. That's something you'll remember. Whatever images they've shown you, you'll remember that tagline. That is what is called as simplicity. There's something called as commander's intent, right? And there was a colonel, I cannot pronounce the name, sorry. He said that plans are useful. They are proof that planning has taken place, but they really don't work on the battlefield. So in 1980s, the army adopted something which is called as commander's intent. And talk about an example over here. If you look at this, right, the intent is to have a 3rd battalion on Hill 4305 to have the hill cleared of the enemy with only ineffective remnants remaining so we can protect the flank. So if I'm going to have such a big, so imagine this is the goal of a company, right? Imagine this is the goal of the company. Would it make sense?
Nope.
No, it won't.
No, it's too big, I feel.
Yes. So it's like that is what is called as commander's intent. You should have something very simple. So what they did was they just said the goal is take over Hill 4305. That's it. That's your target. If you've seen the movie Laksh, right? What is Hrithik Roshan's goal? He wants to capture that hill. That is his goal. In the end, he does that. So that is what is something which you call as commander's intent. You can't have 5 north stars, you can't have 5 important goals. There has to be one specific goal, most important goal that you have, right? That's what you should look at. So Southwest Airlines is one of the biggest airlines. They have a goal of that they want to be a low fare airline. And Herb Keller, he was the longest serving CEO of Southwest. So there was an intern who came to him, and there was on a flight from Houston to Las Vegas, they did a survey. On that survey, they asked people, should they serve chicken salad or should they serve peanuts? So what do you think Herb's answer would be to this?
Peanuts.
Okay. Why do you say that?
The trip must be short, so they don't want to fool themselves. Maybe.
Plus low cost.
Yes. So he asked that intern one specific question. If I'm going to serve chicken salad, will I still be a low fare airline? So the answer, what the intern gave was no. Will not be the low fare airline. So which is why he said the answer is no, because this is our goal. We want to be a low fare airline. So it makes it very easy for anybody to understand. It should be so simple. It should be easy for anybody to understand from top to bottom in the organization. Because many times you have a goal, but people don't understand what they have to do to contribute towards that. So this is what is something which you called as simplicity as well as the commander's intent, right? So simple is equal to core plus compact. Right? You've seen this Palm Pilot? Have you? I mean, not many people use it nowadays, but you've seen the Palm Pilot, right? You can actually compare
Yeah,
it to your
yeah.
mobile phone also. You've seen a remote control?
Yes. Yes.
So how many buttons do you think are there on that remote control? Have you ever counted? I always end up counting them.
Around 20.
How many do you use?
4.
Very few of those.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a remote control is like an engineer's delight, because he gets to add so many features. That's what this Palm Pilot did. It has very few features. It's removed everything, and it makes it very simple. This is an example of how technology can be made simple. Even if you look at an iPhone, that initially they removed all the buttons, they removed everything, and everything is on the screen. So it makes it much more simple as compared to a remote control, right? That's what the Palm Pilot talks about. So I am going to talk about this. I'm just going to look at this. Just look at this. I'm going to ask you a question about this, right? I'm going to ask you to remember some of those names. So can you tell me some of those words which were there over there?
JFK,
Very good. Very good, doctor.
RNS.
Okay. It's like I'm taking your eye exercise, it's like you're telling me how good your eyes are. But if I group it in a different way, right? I have grouped these words in a simple different way. I have grouped it in JFK. It's a JF Kennedy, FBI, NATO, UPS, NASA, IRS.
IRS.
Right? So if I, instead of this doesn't make sense. So simplicity is also trying to group things, group words, group elements into something you can easily remember and easily understand. That's it also what is called simplicity. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, unexpected is, trying to grab the attention of the audience. So you have to use surprise. You can use surprise. So suddenly if I add a picture of some actor or actress in the next slide, I'll grab your attention, but I'll not be able to maintain that interest because it's a surprise element, but it's not going to help me maintain that interest. So how you should use surprise is you need to generate that interest and curiosity. So what if you were asked to make the safety announcement? And this is a very good example. There was a certain videos also floating of a different example in the latest form. So if you just read this, right, there was a lady who had to make this announcement. So this is how she did that. If you haven't been in an automobile in 1965, the proper way to fasten your seatbelt is to slide the flat end. Or there might be 50 ways to leave your lover, but there are only 6 ways to leave this aircraft. And if you want to leave, there are red and white disco lights along the floor of the aisle. And so it's like you're grabbing the attention of people and people are listening to you because you're doing something different. You're doing something unexpected. That is where you try and grab attention, and you also try to maintain that attention which you've got from the crowd. So I'll ask you this question. The Great Wall of China, is this the only man-made structure visible? It's people say that this is the only man-made structure visible from space. Do you think this is fact or fiction?
It's fiction.
Very good.
Fiction.
Very good. Very good. Nice crowd. It is actually fiction, yes. Now, another example is the Daily Record, right? It's a small publication in, I don't remember the location. What the editor had said that if I have to publish the names of all the people in the dictionary, or rather not the dictionary, all the people in the phone directory, right? He would do that. Why? Because if your name is there in that newspaper, you will definitely grab that newspaper to check your name. So their motto was names, names, names. That is what is doing something unexpected. Yeah. If I could, I'd publish pages from the phone book to get names. You heard of Nordstrom? If not, it's actually a group which sells. It's like Shopper Stop or any other, what do you say, retail store for that matter. You wouldn't expect a Shopper Stop employee to actually iron the t-shirt, new shirt of a customer who bought it from Big Bazaar. Would you expect that?
No.
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 So that is what Nordstrom did. They ironed a new shirt for a customer who needed it for meeting that afternoon. Then he bought it from somewhere else, and they ironed it for that person. So that's what you call as something doing unexpected. That's what is unexpected. Now I'll ask you this question. The principal of Beverly Hills School, right, announced that the entire high school faculty will travel to Sacramento next Thursday. Among the speakers will be an anthropologist, college president, and California government. So this is the first journalism assignment for a group of students. And Nora Ephron, she mentioned that he told the students that what should be the tagline. If you were told to find out what is the tagline for this journalism assignment, what would your tagline be? If you have to think of a tagline, what do you think that tagline would be? Any thoughts? Anybody?
No idea.
No idea. Okay. That is not the tagline, sorry. All right. So some of you might say that, you need to know the audience. It has to be, so I forgot to tell you that this assignment is, the tagline has to be for the school paper. Okay. And the audience of the school paper is the students, might be the students. So from that perspective, the lead or the tagline is, there will be no school next Thursday, because your audience is the students. Everybody will want to go home, or right? I mean, all the teachers are not going to be there. That's going to be fun. So that is what your lead is. So just look at this. I like these examples over here in terms of potassium. You know, bananas have potassium, right?
Yes.
And you know that some of that is also radioactive. Did you know that?
No.
No.
Yeah. So this is expected. You know that banana has potassium, but when I look at it, unexpected is the power of the nuclear bomb can be measured in bananas. Sorry, I never knew that. Sorry, somebody
That's
said something.
unexpected.
Yes, the power of the nuclear bomb can be measured in bananas. Yeah, that's pretty fun actually.
Not even.
Literally as numbers.
Yeah. So you heard of Bell Laboratories? So there was
No.
all right. So Masura Ibuka, I cannot pronounce her name properly. Right? Earlier, these radios were bulky. If you notice, because of technology, because of electronics, right? These radios were bulky. And what Masura wanted to do was, he wanted to create pocketable transistors. He wanted to create these small transistors. So which is why he did not get an approval from his existing company where he was working in Bell. So he created something which is called as Sony. He's part of Sony. And if somebody wants to write a tagline like this, right, they'll put it like this: Sony will beat Bell Labs in making a transistor radio work. Sony will be the world's most respected manufacturer of radios. Or Sony will create the most advanced radios in the world. Right? That's like something very, what do you say, kind of bookish or something you would. It's very what do you say? Not that catchy, right?
Catchy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what he said, he proposed the idea of a pocketable radio. At that time, it's very. If I say something, I'm going to create a pocketable radio, you will say, okay, great. But at that time, when even the computer was so big, if you know the hard disk size was so big, 4 MB size of a hard disk was so big, they had to be flown in a plane. It was that big. So a pocketable radio at that time was unimaginable. So this will hold the attention of that person. Okay. Now then you want to make the idea concrete, right? A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Because you're using images, because you're using something people can see, right? That makes your idea very clear. That is what concreteness talks about. So I'm pretty sure you heard of these Aesop's fables.
Yes.
Yes, you heard of the fox and the grapes. You know what is the story?
Yes.
Yes.
What is
Yes.
the story?
He jumped and he couldn't get hold of the grapes. Then he cursed that the grapes were sour.
Very good. Angur khatte hain. Yes. Right. So that's what he felt in the end. If you not the tortoise and the hare, this is still valid, right?
Yes.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yes.
And over here also we looked at a lot of images, right? When you're comparing medium-sized butter popcorn to all these images which are there, because you're able to visualize them in your mind and something. And even if you notice, right, Facebook or LinkedIn, if you're posting an image, you'll get a lot of likes. But if you write something, right, hardly people will read it. Because it's something very, it's very natural, because something will catch your eye is not the text, but actually the image. Right, and this is something, a statement I believe that this nation should commit itself, that he should land a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth. The point over here is you want to land the man on the moon, but you also want to get him back to the earth safely. Okay, so which is where you use, there are 5 senses every human has in terms of taste, sight, sound, smell, touch. So whenever you're trying to showcase any idea, you should try and use this. If you've seen MasterChef, people taste that. Even when you're looking at food, you can see that, right? The sound, when you're looking at any technology, the software itself, you have to be able to touch it before you actually, before you even try to, even if you think of buying it, you have to touch it, right? Only then will you find out that, okay, yeah, this is something useful for me. So wherever possible, you should use sensory language. So a quick check. I just wanted to check if you guys are still awake. I could have emailed you my PowerPoint deck and you could have read it in 5 minutes. But I just wanted to check if you guys are all awake till now. Okay. I think somebody. Very good. Hopefully you are.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So next point which you're talking about is credibility. So how do you create credibility? Any idea? How do you think you should be able to generate credibility for your idea? Any idea? Any thoughts? You've seen an advertisement for toothpaste.
Yes.
So who's
Yes.
there in that advertisement? Other than Madhur Dixit?
Dentist.
A dentist usually.
Yes. Why do you see a dentist?
Because a dentist
Because
would obviously recommend the best toothpaste since that is the job profile of a dentist.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a true dentist, but yes, the dentist is somebody who adds credibility to that particular idea because it's coming from somebody who is in that profession, right? That is where one way of generating credibility is for people to do that. So I'll tell you a story. In 1980, and this is more in terms of healthcare, in 1980, Marshall and Warren were proposing that ulcers are caused by bacteria, and if so, they can be cured. So there's a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. Thank you, I was able to pronounce that. And Marshall and Warren were 2 medical researchers. And right, for a long time, the cause of ulcers were a mystery. Okay. They said that ulcers are caused by bacteria, but no one believed them. Any idea why? Any
So
thoughts?
at that time, people attributed the cause of ulcers to commonly as stress and other factors. Nobody considered the possibility of bacteria causing an ulcer at that time. So
Right.
then he had to ingest it to prove it point.
Very good. You told my story. Thank you. So, so the problem is, so let me just repeat what doctor said. Because the stomach has acid, and that acid can literally burn anything that is there, right? And at that point of time, Robin Warren and Barry Marshall were a staff pathologist and an internist at training. Right? So from that perspective, the source, they're pretty junior. And the research they were doing they were doing it in Australia, which was not really a great location at that point of time for any kind of research. And there were other patients also who had that bacteria, but there was no sign of ulcer. Right? So though that is what the problem was, that people were not able to believe them. So ultimately what Barry Marshall did was he drank a glass filled with the bacteria. He had all the symptoms of ulcer. He validated the same using endoscopy, and he cured himself using antibiotics. This was in 1984. Okay? And in 1994, they endorsed the idea that antibiotics were preferred treatment for ulcer. That is why NIH, National Institute of Health. And finally, they won a Nobel Prize. So they had to go through a lot of work and challenges to prove that credibility, right? To get that credibility, which is where you don't get credibility just like that. So you have to find such examples, you have to find such stories, or somebody who can add credibility to what you're talking about. And many times we trust the recommendation of people whom we want to be like, right? So very simple example, look at a lot of advertisement. Boost is the secret of our energy. This Kapil Dev and Sachin Tendulkar. Right? Now, if JFK was the CEO of the company, and we saw this example earlier in terms of putting a man on the space, right? Our mission is to becoming the international leader in space industry through maximum team-centered innovation. So if he was the CEO of a company, that is what he would have said. But what he actually said was, I want to put a man on the moon and bring him back. So there are 5 ways of bringing in credibility. You put somebody who does not believe in you to showcase that idea. You detail your idea. You can leverage statistics and testable credibility. I'll come back to this point of Harry Potter. And testable credibility is in terms of what you show you can actually try. So I had earlier, one of the slides mentioned try before you buy. So if you're saying that the burger is going to be bigger than your head, you would want to go and try that and actually see it. Then there is something called as Sinatra test. So when Harry Potter was launched, right, the biggest challenge of Harry Potter was you don't want piracy to happen for those books because there is a lot of demand for them. And Frank Sinatra used to say, if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. So Safe Express is a company in India. They had got the job of delivering Harry Potter books to all the stores at the same time. And they proved themselves by delivering all the Harry Potter books at the same time in all different locations. So which is why he said that if I can do this, I can do anything else. Right? So those are some of the 5 ways in which you can bring credibility. Then you want to tap into emotions because everybody feels those emotions. And this is what Mother Teresa says: if I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will. What she's trying to say is that, and you will notice this in a lot of those advertisements that you see, right? If you're going to ask for donation for the entire population, people don't do that. But nowadays you see, right, you can donate for the education of one particular child. Then you'll see a lot more people actually doing that. You are tapping into the emotions of people. Now look at this, right? Overfishing causes Pacific bluefin tuna numbers to drop. There is no association because you're just talking about the fish. But if I talk about this, right, overfishing of bluefish tuna will lead to the end of sushi as we know it, because there is an association over here, because people eat more sushi. So that is why there's an emotion which you're tapping into when you're trying to tell that to people. you should emphasize the benefits over the features. And so over here on the left hand side, you're just talking about muscle source, or on the right hand side, you're talking about how big the biceps of the person will be. So that is what the features are. These are what the benefits are in terms of 100 grams of muscle sauce. Contains 150 grams of protein. So 1 second, I'm just going to. The other important aspect is what is in it for you. So if you know Maslow's law, anybody knows Maslow's law?
Yes.
So what is it?
Self-actualization.
Yes. So when you look at this, right, you are asked. This is Maslow's motivational model, right? So if a company, or consider this scenario, right? A company offers its employees $1,000 bonus if they meet certain performance targets. So from your perspective, what option would you choose? A down payment, increased security, or company recognizes your importance? What do you think it would be? 1, 2, or 3?
3.
3. But if I ask you that same question for somebody else, you might not answer 3. You might answer 1 or 2. That is what Maslow's law actually talks about. Which positioning would you appeal? And what happens is many times we think in that way. In other words, a lot of us think everyone else is living in Maslow's basement. We may have a penthouse apartment, but everyone else is living below. So which is where you have that emotion. Right? Now you've seen Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. You've seen that? You don't want to litter anywhere. You are aware of that, right?
Yes.
Sir.
Yeah.
So how effective do you think it is? Is it effective?
To some extent, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But not
Somewhat.
really.
So this is what Texas faced. Texas actually faced the same problem. They were using these signs. There was a rising spend on the litter in trying to clean up the entire space, right? They were using standard messages which were not working for Texas. And then there was this person called Dan Cyrick. He was given that particular job to make this work. So what he did was he created a tagline. He said, "Don't mess with Texas." He related an emotion with people. And when that happened, right, it's like everybody in that particular locality, everybody in that place was tied to this, and they found that the mess was actually reducing, the litter was actually reducing because it was tied to a specific emotion. Then you have something called as stories, and I've told you a lot of examples, but you have to find certain stories. You have to, whenever you're trying to showcase an idea, whenever you're trying to showcase something, you have to talk about certain stories. So I'll give you an example of this story. There was a nurse and there was a baby in a neonatal care. And she was seeing the baby's color going from deep blue to black color. And if you notice, that means that the baby is not able to breathe or there is some problem. So she called the technicians. Okay. I'm hoping you know what is a neonatal care. It's a place where you keep small babies. And this is a common thing. People feel that for a small baby, right, the lung has collapsed. And the technician started treatment for that. They initiated that particular treatment, right? About baby's lung has collapsed. That is a common problem for babies on ventilators, which is called as I cannot pronounce that, sorry. Okay, I can pronounce pneumonia, but I don't think I can pronounce that. Okay, thank you. But the nurse actually did not believe that. She said, no, it is not the lungs, it is the heart. But everybody refused to believe that because the heart rate was 130 BPM. Then the nurse screamed and she told everybody to be quiet. And she found that the heart was not beating. Which is where she again she took a syringe and told the neonatologist, stick the heart. And then the baby's heart was saved. Baby's life was actually saved. What it actually means, right, when you look at this data, the heart monitor it's actually designed to measure electrical activity, not really your actual heartbeat. Which is why when when your pulse rate is increasing, that means the heart has actually not been able to pump. There's something wrong with that, or there's some other issue, which is where the nurse was actually able to find or tell the problem to the technicians. She stick her neck out and told her this is the problem, not the lungs. It is the heart. The problem is the heart. Which is where when you are talking about any idea, when you're talking about anything for that matter, right? You need to identify such stories. You need to identify such examples which can actually add a lot of credibility in what you're saying. Right? And this story was collected by Gary Klein. He's a psychologist, and he was trying to understand how people make decisions in high pressure, high stakes environment. There are 3 different stories. There's a challenge plot, the connection plot, and the creativity plot. So the challenge plot, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, right, you would understand that it's like an underdog tale. The connection plot is something like Romeo and Juliet or Titanic for that matter, where you can connect.
Hello, sir.
Site.
Hello?
We're not able to see you.
He left. He'll join, I think. He'll rejoin.
I think there's some network issue with them.
You can just wait for him.
I just asked him.
Tracy, check with him na ek bar.
Yeah, I'm asking him.
Do we have to restart the meeting after 40 minutes?
No,
No,
we have the
this is the unlimited one.
Okay, cool.
I hope everyone is connecting to it up. Everyone is enjoying the session. So you guys, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Shalaka, I'm having a great time.
Glad. I think most of you guys are from this sector only, because I can see a lot of people.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Who, ma'am?
Shalaka, ma'am.
Shalaka, ma'am.
Yeah, he's coming back. There's some problem with the internet.
Okay.
Okay, secretary, ma'am. Yeah.
Guys, don't leave the chat. He'll be back. Please
Yeah.
don't leave the
Okay, ma'am.
call.
Okay, buddy, ma'am.
Okay,
कौन
ma'am.
बोल रहा है? अच्छा ये आदिल है.
Chairman Avenues, Protractor Adil Khan.
बड़े लोग.
Too much need, so no camera. Sorry.
iPhone 7 वृद्धि कैमरा ऑन कर.
कौन है iPhone 7?
So it is your, I think so.
Yeah, sorry.
अमन चेहरा दिखा यार.
Nice.
ना
Can you see me now?
ये तो छिपा
Aman,
गया.
last session के बाद
Hi, sir.
Hello. So where did I leave you guys?
Lord of Rings.
Hey, Lord of Rings. Very good.
Yeah.
Titanic.
So I was talking about these 3 example, the challenge plot. Yeah, we're talking about the Lord of the Rings. Then we're talking about it, Titanic. It's basically the connection plot is you're trying to connect the relationship in terms of the race, ethnicity, demographic, or any other area for that matter. The creativity plot, you know who this is?
Newton.
Newton.
And you know what this is?
Apple.
Do you know, did the apple fall on Newton's head or what?
Mm. It's a myth.
Actually, the apple did not fall on his head. He saw it on the ground and he was thinking, how did it fall on the ground? That is where he came up with a lot of his equations.
Right.
You know who this is? Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen this movie?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What is it about?
No.
Okay, so if you've not seen the movie, right, it's about a person trying to use analytics for the first time in sports. This movie is about baseball and how Brad Pitt hires a person who's from an analytics background, who knows statistics and mathematics, and he helps him put together a team. All right, so that's what this movie is about. Now, when I look at this, we talked about simple, that is one idea versus 10, unexpected, concrete, credibility, emotional, stories, a simple, unexpected, concrete, credentialized, emotional story. That's what you should talk about when you're trying to showcase your ideas or your examples, right? So I'm going to, hopefully you're still awake. Thank you for being there. And I'm going to tell you another story. I'm going to talk about a little bit of analytics, right? In a very, hopefully it's a very simple way. So there was this lion and a clever fox, all right? This is a story about that. So the lion and the lioness told the lion that you have bad breath. So the lion said, what? So he said, no, I will go and check with others. You know, he had a lot of pride. He wanted to go and check with others. So the lion first met a sheep. So he asked the sheep, does my mouth smell bad? So the sheep said, yes. You know what happened to that sheep?
Later.
Eaten.
Got eaten.
Yeah, the sheep was eaten by the lion. Okay. Then he asked somebody else. I think this is a wolf. He asked, does my mouth smell bad? So the wolf said, your mouth smells like roses. So what is that? What do you think happened to the wolf?
He was fed.
No,
No, he was
also
also
eaten.
eaten.
He was also eaten because it was, muska polish. Okay. ज़्यादा ही हो गया वो. And then he met a fox. So the fox said, I have a blocked nose. I cannot answer a question. So which is where the fox was not eaten. So what this lion did was he hired the fox to help him identify prey. And when you say what, the fox had data. In terms of data, right, the fox had information related to the jungle, the creatures, the happenings, what all is happening in that particular locality. He had all this information in a warehouse. So if you don't know what is a warehouse, it's like a place where you keep all that data. So he used data for the past 6 months to identify where the lion was hunting, where he found that prey. Now, in terms of analytics, or for that matter, business intelligence, right? This is something which we call as descriptive analytics. Basically, what you're doing is you're trying to find out what has happened based on the past 6 months data. So using that, right? Then he used 6 months data to identify why did he miss a prey for a particular location. You know what this is called? Any idea?
Diagnostic.
Yeah, this is called diagnostic. You're trying to find out why something did not work. This is called as diagnostic analytics. Then what he wanted to do was he wanted to find out where exactly that prey will come. Right? He wanted to predict the place and time where exactly that prey would come. So this is called an example of predictive analytics. Okay, where because using that past 6 months data, he's telling where exactly that prey will come. Finally, the fox dug trenches to capture the prey automatically. And what that happened, what he did was, using this, he used basically something called as prescriptive analytics or optimization. So we are talking about 4 specific examples. So hopefully you understood what it means in terms of descriptive, what has happened, diagnostic, why did it happen, predict what will happen, and prescriptive is how to make it happen automatically. So when you look at it, hindsight, insight, and foresight, those are the 3 things which people normally talk about in analytics. And I'll talk about a couple of examples which you can relate to in your day-to-day life, right? So how many of you used a credit card or a debit card?
Almost all.
All right. So have you ever
Yes.
used a debit card or credit card 3 to 4 times in a span of like 5 to 6 minutes? Or let's say 10 minutes?
No, actually.
No.
Yes. So those who have, have you ever received a call from the bank that have you used your credit card for the past, in the past 10 minutes for 3-4 times?
No.
Yes.
So normally, right, if you don't have a trend of spending, you will get a call from the bank. So suddenly, if you are going to spend in a span of 5 to 6 minutes, 3 to 4 locations, right? Because I've got a call from the bank. Because what happens is, if you look at this image over here, right, the bank notices that you don't have a spend, right? You don't have really a spend, but suddenly if they see a spike in your spending, they will feel that that is some kind of a fraud. This is a very good example of fraud analytics in a banking perspective, which is actually live, which happens in your day-to-day lives, where you get a call from the call center, and then you can really find out whether from the user itself, you can find out whether this was a fraud or an actual transaction. And you can actually relate this thing to healthcare if you want to. It's not really implemented in healthcare. And imagine something like this, right? A patient who has a sugar problem, right? And when you look at this in terms of when the patient has sugar, he's capturing his information in the morning in terms of what was his blood sugar in the morning, and he's also capturing this information in terms of what he ate in the morning. Then at 1:30 he ate pizza and ice cream, then he had a burger, then he had dal, ice cream, rice. All of this data is entered in the system in an app or whatever that might be. And if that data can actually be, sorry, I'm using a lot of actually, but if the data is entered in the system, the doctor can look at the data on a real-time basis and find out what could be the possibility of this spike. He's expecting a spike because he's eaten all of this and his blood sugar was at the marginal level. So this is something you can actually implement in healthcare, which might be useful from a patient's perspective, right? Monitoring the patients. You know what this is? Any idea?
No.
Okay, this is called liquorice. Liquorice. You know what that is made? What is it used for? Okay, you know all of these tweezers?
Yeah, candies and stuff.
Yeah, Hershey's. It's a Hershey's. It's a candy, right? It's called
Yeah.
tweezers. So in order to make that tweezer, right, if you notice, there is a weight written on that particular packet also. What they have to do, the biggest challenge is of the perfect Twizzler. They have 900-gallon batch of licorice which must cook for 4 hours. An extruder is a machine which extracts certain elements from that particular licorice. So if you make it light, right, you will have to re-extrude, you have to run the machine again and add more licorice. Or if you make it heavy, then you have to you'll get extra 100 grams per minute, and that will be a waste of ingredients. You have what Hershey's was earlier doing was manually weighing that licorice every 15 minutes to adjust the machine 12 times a day. And they used to adjust the machine 12 times a day. So what they used was they used sensors. They used IoT data. They used sensors. They used 22 sensors, and they got 60 million data points. Using that, they were able to predict the weight of the candy before the candy is made. And then ultimately, they were able to save on a lot of raw material, which could be used for other items in terms of chocolates. So they saved around 500 $500,000 for every 1% of improved efficiency. This is, I just talked about a couple of examples of how you can just talk about a particular thought process, a particular technical example or technical idea. And so that was actually what I wanted to talk about. And I also wanted to share in terms of, I have recently launched my second book, which is actually available today on Amazon Kindle. This is called Technology to Business. It's my understanding of how you can, for somebody who's from a technical background, how can you relate to the business side? What are the steps you can take to get there? It's more about my experience when I had learned during my MBA, and I have tied it to my overall experience in terms of working in the IT space. The other, and I'm also holding a webinar on 3rd May. So if you're interested, you can register on this link, or you can also accept the LinkedIn invite which is mentioned over here. And this is my second book. It's called Healthcare Decoded. So if you're from healthcare, if you want to understand more about healthcare IT, this book gives you that perspective. All right. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you are not in this state. Any questions?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions, everybody? Guys?
I wanted to actually ask if the presentation, so the slides you presented, would they be available like after the?
Thank you,
Yes,
sir. It was
Revati
very
would be sharing
informative and interesting session. This is Professor Shilpa Dasgupta from Chetas.
Yeah, ma'am. Hi, how are you doing? Yes, the presentation will be, Revati would be sharing that with you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yes, Ms. Shilpa, you were saying something. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
hi, ma'am.
Sorry, ma'am, we are not able to hear you. She is not there. What about everybody else? Does anybody has any questions? Guys, I think the session is very well understood to everyone. So you can ask questions to everybody, I guess.
Okay.
I think we have Shilpa ma'am again. Ma'am, do you want to ask something?
No, I mean, most of the concepts are very clear and he explained it in a very simple manner. So, very interesting session. Look forward for the next 3rd May webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So I think with this, we will end this session. What we will do is, a lot of the members messaged me privately saying that they couldn't attend the entire seminar. So we will be uploading this entire video on our page. You guys can go and check it out over there. If you have any other questions, you can directly get in touch with Mr. Rish. And yes, I think we are good to go. Thank you, sir, for coming with us this Teacherly Thursday session.
Thank you for inviting me, ma'am.
Definitely join you, and all the best for your book launch. It's today, right?
Yes, it is. The book is available online. The
Okay.
webinar we are doing on Sunday.
Sunday. All right. Okay.
All the best for that, sir.
All the best,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
ma'am.
much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good luck in the meeting.
क्या वृद्धि म्यूट है तेरा
We can leave now.
Yeah, yeah.
उसका रिकॉर्डेड फुटेज मुझे देखना है.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Adil,